I'm sure all of you, if you're big music fans, if you want to get the best out of your listening experience, you have heard all about DACs and amps and all those kinds of things. And what are they and what do they do and why would you want one? Today we're going to talk about the iFi Micro iDac 2. Hey there friends on YouTube, my name's Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech. If this is your first time here and you want to come back again, and I hope you do, like, subscribe, drop me a comment down below. I'm always in the comments answering questions as much as I can. It's a point of pride for me. I appreciate you being here, and thank you very much. Commercial over. So here we have the iFi Micro iDac 2. Now, it's actually a very nice little device. Solid aluminum construction. We have USB, and they provide you with this cute little blue cable. And then on this, we have a switch on the back that will give you bit-perfect representations of your music. Somewhere in the middle, the minimum phase is what they call it, and then standard. I've been using the minimum phase setting and have really been impressed with this little guy. Honestly, I have a small FiO DAC that cost about $60, $70. This is my first experience with a real beastly, hefty micro DAC. Plugs into the computer via USB and then becomes the audio output device if you so select it. I wanted to put it through its paces in a couple of different ways. I tested this listening to this and then going back and listening to the same song again with just the input on my gigabyte motherboard, which purportedly has upgraded amps and all that kind of stuff. This guy, I'm going to get a little technical as I go through this, and if you don't quite pick up everything that I'm laying down, then leave me a comment down below and ask me to clarify some things. Let's just start off by saying that compared to the headphone output on my PC, this is 4K, HDR, UHD, super whatever, and the headphone jack in my PC is like standard definition television. What are some of the differences? I mean, at first it seems subtle because this doesn't really announce itself. It's not like a pair of headphones that might be like way over, you know, super bassy and punchy or something like that. This is clean power that's going to drive your headphones. I used my Sennheiser HD600s, which are still my absolute favorite headphones. They run about 300 bucks if you can find them on sale on Amazon. Plugging the HD600s into these things, you know, like I said, at first the sound difference was subtle, but the more I listened, the more layers I could hear in the sound. The sound became more three-dimensional. When you mix records, you're not just thinking about left and right stereo. You're also thinking about depth. So the front and the center and the back. And the way that you achieve that oftentimes is with reverb and delay and those kinds of things. And they're the kinds of things that you don't necessarily hear on subpar audio equipment. You definitely hear them with this combination. Now, the FiO DAC that I have, it was about 60, 70 bucks. This guy runs 350 bucks. And that might sound like a lot. And if you don't invest a lot in audio gear, maybe it is a lot. And you wonder, what am I getting for $350? Now, the thing about iFi is that they have a parent company that makes stuff that's even more expensive. And what they do with this line is they trickle down the technology into this more affordable package and disseminate it out to folks who don't quite have the $1,000 plus budget it might take to get some of their other offerings. Some of the things that I look for when I test headphones and when I test stuff like DACs, I'm looking for a wider sound stage. That is the left to right, back to front that you can hear. The reverb tails. So a reverb tail is like, say you have a really reverby sounding song. You can hear first the attack, and if it has a long tail, you'll hear it echo for a much longer time to the farthest reaches of your headphones. This reproduce that in a way that I have very rarely heard other than with professional grade audio equipment. I was very impressed with the dramatic difference that I heard in reverb tails, in panning. The sound just has more of a full body to it. It doesn't announce itself the way that a lot of consumer audio stuff does with super pumped basses or super crisp highs or anything like that. What it does is imparts overall more of a warmer sound signature. Now, what does that mean? You know, this is not like night shift on your phone for your ears. It's not like that. Where the warmth comes from is in the op amps and other electronics that they put in this guy. Now, let me look at the back here. They've got Class A JFET line buffers and Burr Brown Sound Plus JFET op amps, and they are among the best that you can possibly get to reproduce sound. It's really weird that different electronics impart different character qualities to what you're listening to, and one piece of electronic equipment versus another will impart different qualities to the music. When you're choosing Burr Brown over another op amp, you're choosing that warmer sound, that more glued together sound that you can get. I did some listening tests where I went back and forth with the headphone jack and the PC and this. As I was listening to the iFi DAC 2, I found every time a new song started, it kind of caught me, took my breath away, and I had to stop and listen because I felt like I was hearing the sound of that song for the first time. What did I listen to? I listened to some of Beck's Morning Phase record, which came out a couple of years ago. It's a very open and airy sounding record, very beautifully recorded and produced. So it's really trustworthy when you want to do some critical listening and know what the electronics are doing. So I listened to a couple of songs off that. I listened to a little bit of the new Eminem, which impressed me with how good it sounded. Then I listened to Boston, and Boston is kind of a record that I listen to a lot when I'm testing headphones and other gear, because there's a certain way that first Boston record sounds that is like a quintessential rock and roll sound. I just know what that sound is. I know how it should be replicated to sound the way it's intended, and how different equipment is informing that replication. It sounded really good on the iDac too. I also then went to some ambient stuff just to get, again, a more spatial, open sound. And then I went to a little bit of classical, Vivaldi, Four Seasons, listened to that. And then I went to Paul Simon's Diamonds on the Soles of Her Shoes, which is just a really dynamic record. There's a lot of rhythmic stuff happening. There's a lot of in and out of different parts, and it's testing how the DAC will do with busier material. And I found that everything was nice and clean and separated, but still with that warm glue-like sense of the Burr Brown op amps. After a while, going back and forth between the Gigabyte motherboard and this guy, it became more and more clear what the deficiencies of the motherboard sound card was. It was very flat compared to this, but it took a while to really understand what I was hearing. You don't hear what's really happening with this until you've listened to several songs and you become enveloped in the sound signature of the iDac 2. So I have to say that I ended up being really, really impressed with this piece of equipment. It's maybe a little bit larger than I would want for something that was solely providing output and not input on my desk, but as someone who does pro audio related stuff, I have a different need set. This would be great to have in your office if you just want to listen to headphones, or at your desk at work, and you just want to reproduce good sounding headphones. These HD 600s run about 250 ohms, which means they are not very sensitive. It takes a lot of power to drive them appropriately for them to sound the way that they are intended to sound. This guy is an amazing companion for something like the HD 600s. So I highly recommend checking these out. $350 for this unit is expensive, but it's the kind of thing that you would treat yourself to. And I encourage you to at least go to their website, go check them out on Amazon, and I'll put a link down below to their Amazon page. They have the effect of just making really good sounding music sound better than you thought it could. Like, it's surprising. I heartily recommend the iFi Micro iDac 2. Thank you again for being here, and thank you for watching. Again, if you want to come back and visit me some other time, like this video, subscribe to the channel, maybe leave a comment down below telling me what you think. I'm always down in the comments of my videos, always talking with the folks who come to watch. It's an honor to have made it through this year and to have grown so much, and I send out much love to everybody who's joined the channel, not just in the past year, but over the course of the last 3 or 4 years as I've been doing YouTube. It really means a lot to me that people are watching and valuing the stuff that I am putting out there. This is Painfully Honest Tech. Tech so honest it hurts, although this doesn't hurt unless you get hit in the head with it, because it is made out of metal. Until the next time, I'm out.